Okay, so hi and welcome to the Princess and the Goblin board game gameplay video. This is just a quick tutorial video to teach you a little bit about how to play the game. For a complete set of the rules, you can look below on the Kickstarter campaign page and download those. One thing to note is that these components here that you see are not the final components. These are just prototypes that I've made so basically to teach you the game and give you an idea about what it looks like. So to set up the game, it looks just like this. Take all the tiles and put them face down in a stack and put one like this on every side. Also take the Goblin Palace tiles and set those off to one side. There's 4 of those. And then take the 6 Mountain Home tiles and set those off to the other side. There's also 4 breadcrumbs that look like this per player of 4 different symbols. So take the 4 that are assigned to you, your color, and set those in front of you to use during the game. The goal of the game is to escape the Goblin Kingdom by making a path from the Goblin Palace all the way to the Mountain Home. And you'll do that by pulling tiles, flipping tiles from the mountain that line up and create a path all the way home. So as you can see here, these 2 tiles match up. The signpost match as well as the pathway matches too. So you're going to try to build a path all the way home. And the winner is the player who is able to escape and also collects the most clues to the Goblin's evil plans. And clues are represented by these symbols here. You get 1 point for each clue, and you also get points for breadcrumbs that you use in your escape path. So the first thing you need to do is to select a starting player, and to do that, the first person to shout goblins is the first person to start. And the game is played in 2 phases for each player. The first phase is to explore the mountain, and the second phase is to make your escape. Once you choose to make your escape, you can't go back to exploring the mountain, so you need to make sure that you time your escape right. So when you're exploring the mountain, the way you do that is to remember the simple phrase, place and then peek. So draw a tile, go ahead and look at it, and then place it somewhere in this mountain area. You have to place it so that it's adjacent to another tile. And when you place it, then you get to peek at the ones that are adjacent to it. So in this instance, if I placed it here, I could peek at this tile, and I could also peek at this tile without showing the other players. If I were to place it over here instead, I could only peek at this tile because I'm only sharing one, I'm only adjacent to one tile. But let's do this one instead. And then my turn is over unless I also choose to place a breadcrumb. So the breadcrumbs are useful. There's 4 different symbols that you have to pick from, and these symbols are represented a lot in the caves. So for example, this one shows the ruby ring, and on this tile you noted that there's a signpost on the left side of the card that shows the ruby ring as well. So maybe I might choose to put the breadcrumb on this tile to help me remember that this one started with ruby ring. Though I might choose instead to place this emerald, since the emerald is the path that leads off it. So you can place any breadcrumb of yours onto the tiles however you want. It matters to you in your own memory for what their purpose represents. So when somebody else places a breadcrumb, you're not going to know why they placed it there, but sometimes it might give you some indication about why. At the same time, you might try to throw somebody off by putting a symbol on a tile that you think they might try to steal from you. So the game will continue, and these tiles will come out throughout the course of the game as players are exploring the mountain. And eventually get to a point where somebody thinks that they have seen enough tiles, at which point they will probably choose to make their escape. I'm just going to put some breadcrumbs out there as just for an example. When you choose to make your escape, what you do is you pull one of these Goblin Palace tiles, you set it in front of you, and then from memory you have to go back and flip in order the tiles that will help you, that line up to get you all the way to the Mountain Home. So if I can try to remember, let's say I'll flip this one right here, and this one actually lines up correctly, so I get to continue my turn as long as I keep pulling tiles that line up in my path. If I flip a tile that does not line up in my path, then I lose my turn, and I actually have to, then it's the next player's turn. Now if I flip goblins, as I just did here, then I actually have to return my entire path, back to the caves face up. So now other players can use this tile if it's face up. But let's say that I did not do that, and I pulled one that was correct. I can continue pulling. So here I flipped a tile that matches up the 2 emeralds, so that works. And here I'm going to flip this one right there, and this one also lines up. And whenever you get to this tile that shows the green grass, that lines up with the Mountain Home, and congratulations, you've made your escape. And you earn points based on all the clues that you've discovered. So here I've discovered 3 clues, and so that earns me 3 points, 1 per clue. Now the other players will continue to explore the mountain even if you've made your escape. But if you're the first player to escape, you have a special job to do. And what that job is to start flipping these mountain tiles over face down. And you can see that there's goblins on the back. So set those to the side, and every time it's your turn, you'll get to flip another one. So time is running out on the players who are still exploring the mountain. So they have to do a good job remembering what the tiles are so they can make their escape before all of these get flipped over, because once they're all flipped over, then it's too late to make your escape, and any players who have not yet escaped are stuck in the mountain kingdom forever, which is bad. But let's say that the player decides to escape before all the tiles are flipped. So this player decides to make an escape. They pull the Goblin Palace tile and flip this one, and that one lines up. And let's flip this one now, and this one also lines up. So they're doing good. Again, if they flip a tile that does not line up, then they lose their turn. If they flip goblins, then they lose their entire path back to the caves face up. But as long as you keep on pulling tiles that match, you continue to take tiles until you have made your escape. So there's a tile that matches there, and I'll take this one. And this player actually scored a little bit more. They scored 2 points for these 2 tokens, a point here for this clue, and 2 points here. And then they also score 1 point per captured breadcrumb. And again, I didn't explain this, but whenever you pull a tile from the caves that had a breadcrumb on it, you capture it, and that becomes a point for you at the end of the game as well. So here's 2 captured breadcrumbs for 2 points, plus these two, and this one for a total of 7 points. So this player, even though he escaped later, scored 7 points compared to this player that only scored 3 points. So the player up here won the game. Now the goblins, I mentioned those. A couple things: if you pull the goblins while you're escaping, you lose your entire path back to the caves face up. And also there's the goblins on the back of the mountain home tiles. But there's one other useful trick with the goblins, and that is if somebody is making their escape, let's say that this player hasn't yet escaped. I'll set some of these back over here. If I'm another player and I want to try to stop them while they're escaping, I can shout goblins. And then if I am able to flip a tile in the caves, remember, that shows goblins, then this player loses their turn and they have to wait until their next turn to continue making their escape. So this is a strategy you can use to stop a player basically in their path and give you a chance to catch up if you think that they're going to escape before you are, or maybe if they're going to take a tile that you really need. So that's basically it. There's actually some solo rules as well as some advanced rules, but those are listed in the rule booklet that you can download from lower down on the Kickstarter campaign page. But that's about it. So thanks for watching this instructional video, and thanks for backing.